Hello readers and writers of the internet, welcome back. So this is going to be my March TBR in terms of physical books. I actually didn't do a lot. They were mainly just the ones that I did in school, and then I listened to, I believe, 2 audiobooks. So not my best, but this month has been absolutely crazy. I got hit with a few midterms and then I had like other papers and stuff due. So I've been writing and reading over like essays so much that by the time like it was time to settle down, my brain couldn't comprehend looking at more words. So I just kind of laid there and watched Netflix because I just couldn't do it. But yeah, that's essentially what happened. Yeah, let's just get into it. Oh, and really far off side note here, NF's new album is a masterpiece, honestly. If you guys haven't listened to NF or you don't know who he is, I definitely recommend to give him a try. I absolutely love the man. He's brilliant. Love the new album. That's all I gotta say. Let's get to the books now. Also, side note, the Let's Talk video, I'll put it up there for you guys. It did actually pretty well. You guys seem to really enjoy that video. If I'm wrong, just let me know down below and I won't do them. Yeah, from like the views and stuff, you guys seem to like it. So I will continue to do the videos with like Let's Talk, maybe make it a series. I don't know when, but they're just gonna be random. But one topic that I've thought of is the Once Upon This Broken Heart, which is Stephanie Garber's new book related to the Corval series. It follows Jax, my favorite character, so I could talk about that, like the cover and like, you know, stuff behind it. And then this will be way later in the future because there isn't even like a confirmed thing yet. V.E. Schwab's 3rd book in the Vicious duology right now, but maybe turning into a trilogy. I could also talk about that. Again, if you guys feel like they're like interesting topics that I haven't covered yet, or you want to know my thoughts and opinions on something, an author, or you know, an event, something like that, let me know down in the comments below and I'll check it out. And yeah, I could do whatever you guys want. It's up to you guys. So just thank you again for all the love and support you guys have given me, especially with the latest Let's Talk video. It really does mean a lot to me, so thank you. Down to the Woods by MJ Arlidge. This is the 8th book in the Detective Helen Grace series. I actually really enjoyed this book. As stated with my, I think it was my March TBR, I said like I kind of really enjoyed this premise of, you know, people being hunted down, like in the woods and that kind of stuff. I don't know this for sure, it's just based off the time that the audiobook took, but I believe this is one of his longer novels in the thing, whereas Love Me Not wasn't as long. But Down to the Woods, I gave 4, it's probably around 4.5. I think this is my 2nd favorite book in the series. The first one is Pop Goes the Weasel, obviously, and then we have Down to the Woods, and then so on and so forth. But I really enjoyed this one. This one was just a lot of fun. I just really liked it. The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. This one I had to read for class. It's why it is tabbed as heavily as it is, and I've also had to write a paper on it. That's been fun. This one, I know a lot of people really love this book. They regard it as a classic, and I liked breaking this book down, like in class, but reading it, it just didn't really have that wow factor. You know, I kept on waiting for like something to hit or for me to kind of get into it just a bit more. That didn't happen. I enjoyed the book. I'm glad that I read it. Is it something I want to reread? No, but again, I'm glad I read it. I believe I gave it 3 stars. So yeah, this book isn't terrible. I liked it just fine. It's about a butler who travels to an old work friend to see if she wants to come back to him, to the house they both worked at. And that's really all I can say, because that's the entire premise. And there's a lot of back and forth between you know, the present and the past. Sometimes I kind of wished, you know, we had stayed in the past when we jumped to the present. Sometimes I wish we would stayed in the present when we jumped into the past. Sometimes it just got like too much back and forth. I'm like, what is going on? But yeah, I enjoyed this book. 3 stars, not disappointed, so. An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding by David Hume. This one I actually went through for my philosophy class. Yay. I didn't, if you look at Goodreads, it's not rated, and that's because I thought we were going to be going through the entire book, but in the lecture videos that he sent out, we kind of like skipped around and kind of hit the main points. But I'm like, I'm still going to say that I read it. Because philosophy, I'm not coming to terms with it, or like how things are written, and it's also a book that goes towards my 2021 reading goal, so I'm like, we're counting it. No thoughts really on this one. There was one kind of interesting chapter, section 2, it was about thoughts and how their impressions and, you know, stuff like that. And just a side note, this damaged area right here, I did not do that. All my books from school, they are rented, so they are used. So sadly, this was done by another person, and they also felt the need to annotate it, and they also annotated The Remains of the Day very heavily with pen. We love this, but the books are cheaper, and I'm not keeping them, so you know, I kind of have to stay with them for like a semester and then we're gone. So, you know, I didn't do that. I take good care of my books, better care than these people did. But yeah, it's philosophy. Nothing really to say there, and you can't say that I'm wrong because it's philosophy. No one's wrong, so touche, I guess. The Vanishing Deep by Astrid Skolte, I believe. This book, you guys, oh my goodness, I really didn't like this book. Audible did this thing at one point where it was like a buy 2 for the price of 1. So they give you a selection of books to choose from, and you choose 2, and you only have to pay 1 credit. I'm like, what a deal! So I did it. And I chose this one because I remember seeing it kind of a lot when it first came out. And I was really interested. I'm like, the cover's not my favorite, but the premise sounds kind of cool. And then it just vanished. Like, I haven't seen it in bookstores anywhere. People don't really talk about it. It just kind of went, whoop. You know, I was like, what is that about? I forgot about it until I saw it. I'm like, that book exists. Let's read it. It was a mistake. And I'm not trying to be rude when I say that, but this book really wasn't for me. I posted a review on Goodreads about this book, so if you want a little bit more detail there, you can go there. I wrote it right after I finished it, so I was still kind of writing those emotions. But this book, yeah, I'm going to be doing an actual review like on this channel for this book because it just upset me so much. But first I need to get through what is it? Wicked Saints and then Magonia, and then I can do that one. But oh, this book, I didn't like any of the characters. The plot was repetitive. It was annoying. There were things that the characters would like do that were just so annoying, like Tempe especially, and this isn't a spoiler because it happens like within the first few chapters of the book. And it's what the book is based off of, so I'm pretty sure it's in the synopsis. But Tempe, or Tempest, helps or revives her sister, right? And the revival process takes 24 hours. And then they die again. She revives her sister for, like, an info that, like, she built up, and then it turns out to be, like, barely anything. And it's like, well, okay, that was kind of a letdown. Great. And then they break out of this facility that they're not supposed to leave. And then, like, they would get chased. And, like, why are they chasing us? Why can't we just do this? You broke out of the facility. Of course they're going to be chasing you. You literally broke your sister out of the facility. Like, like they would question it. They're like, why can't they just let us be? Why are they chasing us? Why is it important? Because you broke a dead person out of the facility that they are not supposed to leave. It was so stupid. And then Tempe, like, with this 24-hour time constraint, she would get mad at the secondary main character, Lore, because he came from the facility, he worked there, and he was like, hey, you know, at the end of the 24 hours, she's gonna be dead. We kind of need to get her back, like, now. We need to get her back to the facility right now so she can die. That was the deal. And Tempe gets mad. She's like, no, that's unfair. She shouldn't have to die again. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want her to die. You brought her back knowing that you had 24 hours until she died again. Like, why is this a shock to you? Why? I get it. It's like that, like, oh, it's my sister. You know, I can't really let her go. But it was never portrayed like that. It was never portrayed with the sisterly love and all that kind of stuff. It was portrayed of, this is unfair. You're ruining everything, Lore. Why do you have to kill her? You're the bad guy. You knew she was gonna die when you brought her back. If you don't want to deal with it, don't bring her back. Like, oh my goodness. Like, it was just so annoying, and everything, and I do mean everything, in this book was repeated over and over and over and over again. Oh, the boat that they're on can only hold 3 people despite their entire world being water, and that makes no sense that their boats, their fishing vessels would have weight requirements. You get told over and over, only 3 people, only 3 people. We're gonna sink if we have 1 more person. We're gonna go down if we have 1 more person, any more weight. Despite the vessel being for, like, retrieving stuff. So, theoretically, if they brought 3 people with them to, like, dive and bring back stuff, is that added weight gonna cause the boat to sink? Like, it's so confusing. I'm like, that's its main job. That's your main purpose. Why is there a weight restriction, essentially? Yeah, there were just things like that. Again, I go more into depth into it on my Goodreads review, and then I'll go really into depth in it on my actual review. But I really didn't like this book. I gave it 2 stars. The only reason I did not give it 1 is because the world and the premise were so cool. That's it. Like, the idea behind the world was cool enough for me to keep it, despite things in the world not adding up, like I just said with the ship. But the premise of it was cool, and there were a few things that I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, they had to turn over their cups so salt wouldn't, like, line it or anything. It kind of reminded me of, like, the Dust Bowl during the Great Depression. But I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I never thought about that. So, like, cool things like that were given, but that was about it. I'm just like, okay, like you guys don't understand. And again, I'm not trying to be mean when I say this. This is honestly how I felt. I had to force myself to listen to this book. Like, there were times I would go onto campus to, like, take a walk, and I could only get through, like, 2 chapters. My normal speed listening to a book is 2 times speed. I literally put this book on 2.7 because I wanted to get through it as quickly as possible. Like, it was painful. I would go on, like, a late night drive for a few hours, and I would have to, like, motivate myself to listen to this book. I'm like, you can do it. Just listen to the book. You only have an hour left. Like, I could barely do an hour. At one point, I literally just started to write, like, my book on my laptop as I listened to the audiobook, and it just finished. I was like, thank you. It was painful to get through. The only reason I did not DNF it is because A, I had wasted a credit on it, right? B, it was so short because of the speed that I put it on. Like, by the time I'm like, I really don't like this book, I had like 3.5, maybe 4 hours at most left. I'm like, just get through it. Just get through it. It's only 3 hours. And I expanded that 3 hours throughout like a week and a half. If that tells you anything. Yeah, I really didn't like this book. And it was such a way to end this freaking month. Oh my gosh. But yeah, those are the books that I read in March. 4, I listened to 2, I read the other 2 for class. Hopefully April will be a bit more eventful, but who knows at this point, I guess. I don't know. Thank you as always for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. And it would mean the world to me if you follow me on all my other social media, such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Those will be listed down in the description below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!